All right, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of The Teardown. My name is Jeff Gluck. I'm along with my coworker, Jordan Bianchi. We are motorsports writers for The Athletic, and we're here at Phoenix Raceway, where we have just seen the championship race unfold. And I know that all of you have a lot of thoughts. Social media is all lit up. Our YouTube chat on the live stream is all lit up. And we're going to get to all your concerns and address them, at least I assume. But let's start with the champion, Joey Logano. Listen.
Hang on. Before we start, can you do me a favor?
Okay.
One favor.
Say you were right?
Well, we're going to get to that.
Okay.
There's been plenty of time for that.
Okay.
What year is this?
It's an even year, Jordan.
Thank you. And who said even year Logano?
So, yes, you wanted to hear that you were right.
And who said Joey Logano is not going to win the championship?
Yes, absolutely. I said Joey Logano is not going to win the championship. It's very funny. Har. It's very funny that the 15th place driver in regular season points won and that I didn't see that coming. I'm sorry that I was caught off guard by this surprise. But again, we will talk about that. But let's talk first about Joey Logano. Before we get to the system, okay? I promise we will get there. But I think there's two separate conversations here. And let's first give credit where credit is due. Joey Logano in one of the, in a clutch performance, in a performance that, all the pressure was on the line. He had his teammate chasing him down. He had, it was a very tense situation. It looked like his teammate's car was clearly faster. And Ryan Blaney was going to get there, and Ryan Blaney was going to make a pass. There was plenty of time. Joey Logano put on a defensive clinic. His spotter, Coleman Presley, basically called it like a super speedway race, and he blocked the crap out of. He took the line away. He took the arrow line away. He made a defensive line. Joey Logano mirror drove. He did what he did best. That's how you win with this car. He stalled out Blaney's progress for long enough, and as much as you can all say, and we can all say, man, I hate that that's what it comes down to. I hate that that's what racing is. Logano, in every way, with the next-gen car, with this playoff format, it might be irritating to everybody, but he wins.
Oh, this guy. Some of us saw it coming.
Okay, so go ahead.
Again, we need to give Logano all the credit in the world. He and crew chief Paul Wolf know how to rise the occasion. And I will say this until I am blue in the face. This is a system that requires teams to do tough, it puts them in tough situations, and you have to fight your way out of it sometimes. And even when you're not your best, you've got to find a way. This is what they did. They didn't have the best car today. That was either Christopher Bell or Ryan Blaney, 1 and 2 in some order. But they figured it out. They got ahead of it. They jumped ahead. Logano got a great restart, and then he fought his way and defended his way to this championship. It's what he did in 2018. Remember, same situation. Got ahead of Truex and Harvick and Kyle Busch late, and he held them off, even though they were much better throughout the year and even the playoffs, and he won the championship. In 2022, much the same way. Like, this is what he does. And it's, you can sit there and say, oh, it's clean air and dirty. Like, I want to make sure we give enough credit to Logano and his team for what they do, because they deserve the credit. And there's going to be so much conversation centered about the format, and it's not this, and it's not rewarding this, and this person got screwed, et cetera, et cetera. It's like, no. But at the end of the day, the guy who won the championship, to me, deserved it because he found a way in this format.
Okay. Well, that part I agree with. He did what he had to do in this format. But again, and this will be the next conversation, is this how NASCAR wants to decide the champion? Is this what NASCAR wants? But to your point, with all what was laid out before, with all, look, what does this system call for, right? And again, we'll talk about the system itself, but what does this system call for? What does Joey Logano do? You need to win your way in to the playoffs or point your way in, right? Logano won his way in because he took a crazy fuel mileage gamble. He and his team survived 5 overtimes and made it. Okay. Like, you can argue that's crazy. That's a cheap way to get in, whatever you want to say.
Doesn't matter.
He did it. Everybody had the same opportunity. He did it. Okay. Then you get to the playoffs. What does he do? He wins at Atlanta. And then he gets eliminated, but another team broke the rules. So even though he missed it, he's back in. He advances. So you can chalk that up to survive and advance, I guess. I don't know. But he's through. Okay. He's eligible to make it. He makes his way through. He wins his 4th race of the season. That is more than the other championship 4 drivers. I mean, and then again, in a must-win scenario, in a must-perform late in the race on a restart, again, I get it's irritating. I get that it annoys the crap out of people. He made a 3-wide move. He got the lead. He used the clean air to his advantage. He got out to enough of a lead that his teammate had to burn up his stuff getting there. Ryan Blaney said everybody put on a defensive clinic today, not just Logano. And that's just how you have to race with this car. Blaney said, he just told us a few minutes ago, he had to use up his stuff to get there. There was no saving because he had to track him down. He had to race Byron really hard. He had to race Larson really hard. And he thought to himself, by the time I get there, I don't know if I'm going to have enough, but I can't save anything. I've got to try to get there. Unfortunately for him, for Blaney, the combination of him using up all his stuff and Joey's unbelievable aero blocking or taking the line away, whatever you want to call it, the defensive clinic, that held him off, and he won the championship in a clutch performance. I mean, his Coleman Presley, I was listening to their radio the entire last stint there, and it was incredible. I mean, he's saying this is exactly where he needed to run, exactly where Blaney was going, exactly, coaching him on lap times, everything. Logano did it. He executed. He dug deep. He won. So look, I mean, years from now, people aren't going to know what the format was. I mean, I'm not talking about, 5 years from now, but long, way from now. People, can you tell me, Richard Petty won the title under different formats. Now, not a playoff format like this, but he won under different point systems. Some of his titles were not all under the same point system, but nobody's going, well, that point system, this point. Like, I'm just saying, years from now, Joey Logano is a 3-time champion. He's one of 10 3 or more time champions ever in history. I mean, what can you say? The guy got it done. So you have to start by giving the credit there. That's what I have to make sure that's said.
Yeah, and just FYI, if you're listening to this in 2026, pick Logano to win the championship. It's really remarkable to me of how we started this year, and Ford was down. Ford is Ford going to win a race? Their new car is not where they want it to be, and they're struggling along, and they just keep getting better, incremental gains. And then you look at it, and Logano's got 4 wins now, and over that span, which is I think 18 races, Christopher Bell has not won a race. Denny Hamlin has not won a race. William Byron has not won a race. Chase Elliott has not won a race. And so to me, greatness can be defined in many, many ways. And the greatness for this team is the ability to find a way to win, even when they may not have a fast car, even when the chips may be down. And we've talked all year long about the Hendrick cars are really fast. The Gibbs cars are really fast. Gibbs cars haven't won since New Hampshire in June. Penske cars have not. They've won a bunch in that span. And so I just look at this, and the defining characteristic of this team, to me, is grittiness. And I think we're going to get caught up in this thing of this format is this, and it's not rewarding this. It's like everybody's playing by the same rules. Everybody's playing by the same rules. And the fact is, the rules put Joey Logano at a disadvantage to start the playoffs. He was the 15th seed. He started the playoffs below the cut line. Each round, he had to fight his way above that cut line. I just, to get to that conversation that we're getting to, the format is the format. It's been this way for 10 years. And every playoff, on nearly every sport, has a playoff where the best team doesn't always win.
Okay. This is I guess we're going to make our transition to the format. Before we do that, on the podcast version of this, I think we are going to have a chance to talk to Joey Logano. So we can go to our conversation with Joey Logano now, and then we will talk about the format. For those of you on the live stream, obviously this is live. There was no conversation with Joey Logano yet. He hasn't even come to the media center, but I will, through the magic of editing, Insert
way
that.
to ruin this.
Insert that into the podcast. Anyway,
Look behind the curtain. Hello.
so listen, the format, Jordan. This is where you say the format is the format. Every sport has upsets, all this stuff. Let's just back up for a second, okay? What is a champion in motorsports to you? How do you define a champion in racing? Well, I want to hear your definition.
To me, a champion is somebody who perseveres and comes through and rises up to the occasion. To me, and I said this about Jimmy Johnson. The thing what impressed me about Jimmy Johnson, he didn't have dominant seasons beginning to end. I mean, I talked to Chad Knaus a few weeks ago, and he even openly told me we took off in the summer, or we used this. Let me rephrase that. In the summer, we used it as a test session. We'd win early, lock ourselves in the playoffs, and we knew that during the summer we could take that and use that as a test session and gear up for the playoffs. That's not what the defining, that's not the old days of 1 through 36. That's not what it was. This has changed. The parameters of how to win a championship have changed mightily over the years. And to me, it's a champion is somebody who, in that format, in the circumstances they're in, finds a way. Jimmy Johnson did it. The hallmark of Jimmy Johnson's team wasn't just beating everybody's doors off of. It was when adversity struck them, they found a way to overcome that many, many times. They didn't get enough credit for that. Everybody just thinks Jimmy blew everybody's doors off and won dominantly. No, there was many instances where they had to find a way. And that was what I see. No, Kyle Larson's dominance and what he makes him a champion is pure speed and this God gift ability. It's different for every champion. And the one thing that I really admire about Logano is you can point at him to death and it doesn't matter. What is your definition of a champion that you're so upset by this format? You've been upset by it all week.
I think that Joey Logano's win will change the playoff format. I think that Joey Logano winning in this system has exposed a flaw similar to how NASCAR felt when Matt Kenseth won that year. And they will say, NASCAR will look at it that after Kenseth won in 2003, they looked at it and said, this is not what we want. After Jimmy won so many titles in the 10 race chase, NASCAR said, again, this is not what we want. And I believe that NASCAR will reach a point where they, after giving Logano his credit, as we just did, where they say, I don't think this is what we want for our champion. Because look, Steve O'Donnell on Friday in the State of the Sport said, the playoffs are here to stay, but we're open to tweaks. We're open to changing the points, right? I don't know that we know what's going to happen. I don't know that we know how that will go or how to do that, what NASCAR will decide. But I just don't think that year after year, you can have a situation where, well, somebody just got hot and you're going to say, oh, well, again, it's just like the NFL wild card. It's just like the Patriots losing in the Super Bowl. Or it's just like a team getting hot in the NCAA basketball tournament. That is I'm so tired of people using that as some sort, because that's a one-on-one situation. This would be like the Niners and the Chiefs are in the Super Bowl and Patrick Mahomes is running down the field and he gets tripped up by a player on the Carolina Panthers who also happened to be on the field and changed the outcome of the race. Zane Smith had a big impact potentially on this championship. The way the caution came out, when it came out, the restart, all that stuff. He is not part of the playoffs. So in motorsports, I personally don't even think playoffs work. Now, I'm open to having them because I understand why they want to have excitement at the end of the year, bunch it up, but there's got to be, more of a sample size. I think there's got to be there's not the same field every week in motorsports. So if you want you to just take one track and say, this is how we're going to this is what we're going to do for our champion over and over again. I just don't think that's reflective of the entire season, because you guys that listen to this podcast all season long, we talked about who's hot, who's going to make the Final Four, who's a championship contender. And ultimately, none of it mattered. None of it mattered because we were writing off Joey Logano all year long. Maybe you weren't, because you're going to say when the playoffs started, I said, even you're Logano. But all year long, Jordan, I didn't hear you go, hey, you know what? Let me tell you something. Even though Joey Logano is 15th in points.
No. I said that. I have said numerous times. I said, when we talked about the Ford, don't shake your head at me. I have said numerous times throughout the year when Ford was struggling that, hey, Remember how we done this? I even pointed. Remember how 2022. But what did they do? They started off slow. They got better and better. Then come the playoffs. The schedule sets up well for them. 2023, same thing. They got hot. The schedule sets up well for them. I said, don't dismiss Ryan Blaney and Joey Logano. They find a way, and they get in this playoffs. They get there. They have done it the last 2 years. We cannot write them off because of their track records the last 2 years. This is the same thing. I've said that, and it's true. Like, but we've talked about Tyler Reddick. Tyler Reddick was in this championship. He won the regular season title. Like, it's not like this field, this Final Four was made up of a bunch of nobodies and has-beens. Like, it was a legit, bona fide Final Four. Now, was it the best of the best? No. I mean, but it was still made up of guys who were very capable. And it's okay to have a playoff in motorsports that adds excitement and drama and uncertainty. And if you're going to dismiss Joey Logano's championship, then you also better start dismissing Jimmy Johnson's championship.
Oh, come on, dude. You're telling me that you're okay with the champion of your sport with over the longest season in sports, and you're okay with the champion of your sport getting his way into the playoffs on fuel mileage, winning his way into a round on another fuel mileage race, and getting in because, you know, they just kind of at the right time just happened to catch a moment, got in because another team was cheating. And you're okay with that being, he had 7 top 5s all year. He was 15th in regular season points. I mean, every stat you look at is not what we think of as the traditional motorsports champion, but you're okay with going into next year and all year long, after every race, talk about who's good right now. Well, you know what we should say? It doesn't matter. It actually doesn't matter who's good right now because, you know, it doesn't matter. We have no idea who's going to be in the Final Four. It's a total crapshoot. All the best drivers of the year, the best drivers of this season, the 3 best weren't in the finale. So, you know, again, it's like, this is we're trying to give him, I'm trying to give him his credit, but I'm also saying, I don't think this is what you want going forward, because year after year, people are going to look at this and say, I don't really care about this as much. We were walking around the garage this morning and we're saying, man, you know, it's so weird. We don't really feel like the traditional hype of the championship. Like, what is something missing here? Like, we don't feel like the atmosphere wasn't there. It didn't feel the same. You said that yourself.
Yeah, but it wasn't. But it was more about who the garage wasn't buzzing. Didn't have the excitement.
Why wasn't it buzzing? Because it didn't feel like a huge deal.
No,
because you're like, this is kind of like, okay, well, that's my opinion. Well, why wasn't the garage buzzing?
Well, as Bob and I both said, like, there just wasn't the same group of people around. There wasn't a lot of owners. Typically, this race, you see a lot of team owners. You see a lot of team executives. People are milling about. There's a lot of conversations being had about different things. And maybe it's because of the ongoing lawsuit, not sure, but there was not nearly the amount of people that we see in the garage that we usually talk to before the race. Like, there wasn't the owners.
That's your measurement of a big.
It didn't feel that way. Yeah, I mean, it's what Bob and I both. Bob and I both commented on that. We both thought that same way.
Okay, and I thought it was because that it just didn't feel big. It didn't feel as big as we're normally used to. Like, if you had the best drivers of the year and you're like, oh yeah, we're about to see them all go head to head. Like, heck yeah, like, this is going to be big. This was kind of like, yeah, you know what? There's a big chance today that whoever wins is, you know, and of course it happened to be Logano. The one where, you know, you can make the least case for the overall season. I just don't, so you're telling me, like, let me just get this straight. You are comfortable with this playoff format going forward with no changes, and year after year, we just get this randomness at the end of the season, and that's it.
I don't feel like it's randomness. It's not. I don't feel like it's randomness. When a guy wins 3 championships, 2 of which have come in this format, it's not random. When a team, as in Team Penske, has won 3 straight championships in this format, it's not random. It's not random when the guys who won the last 2 championships happen to finish first and second in this year's championship. That's not random. When things keep happening year after year after year, and it's 3 straight years now, that's not random. And
look, you go. That's very fair. But they are excellent at taking advantage of the system and knowing how to work it, right? Like, what they know is that they need to find speed late in the playoffs. And Penske has now, all 3 years, the next gen car, figured out a way to figure out how to get fast on these tracks, Martinsville, Phoenix, and capitalize. Great. That's fantastic for them. But, you know, I as somebody that covers the sport, I got into this again to cover sports. So I'm not coming at it from the entertainment aspect. I want to see greatness, right? I want to see somebody that wins year after year and we go, wow, they were the best of the year, or they beat the other best of the year at a minimum to get there, right? Like this, when you induce so much randomness into the format, and by randomness, I do mean winning on a fuel mileage gamble. That is
But
randomness
winning
to me.
takes on different forms. Winning isn't just outrunning them on pure speed. Winning is out strategizing. Winning is out thinking that. Winning is taking a risk and a gamble and going for it when others are not. Winning,
Because you're not running well enough, so you have to
but winning
try something different.
But winning takes all shapes and sizes. Like Larson, where was Larson's greatness in the semifinal round? Where was it? The pit crew made a mistake at Las Vegas and cost him dearly. He made a mistake at Homestead and was too aggressive in a situation where he should have been smarter. Like, Christopher Bell, as much as we talk about Bell, again, hasn't won a race since late June. Joe Gibbs Racing, as much as we talked about them all year and how great they are, they haven't won a race since late June. Greatness takes on different forms. What you are at the beginning of the year is not what you are at the end of the year. And Team Penske has learned to get better as the year goes along, better than other teams. That is a form of greatness.
Okay. You're not going to be able to sell that to the fans. What you're trying to pitch to the fans, the fan base as a whole, you're not going to be able to sell that to them. And people are just going to tune out because
they're not
going to think
tuning
it's
out. The
irrelevant.
ratings have gone up this year.
That's your argument?
You just said the fans are you're going to tune out. And I'm telling you, that's actually not the case.
You are going, if this continues to be the case year after year, you are going to everybody's just not going to take this format seriously. You're going to have all the Mickey, all the stuff.
People are going to complain regardless. It doesn't
You're not
matter.
taking them. You're not listening to them.
Who am I listening?
You're not listening to what people are telling you.
So what segment of the population should I listen to? Just the people that say negative, they don't like us? I shouldn't listen to the other people who do like it?
I'm sure there's some people that like it.
I'm sorry. So what segment of the
okay.
population should I listen to? The ones that you tell me to listen to?
NASCAR is at a point where they're just going to have to decide what and they're the ones that can answer this question, right? What do they want the champion of their sport to be? What criteria, what all that, because you could have what you're talking about with the playoff format. It's all entertainment based and tries to generate excitement. It tries to knock out the big names, all that stuff. I mean, great. But is that what you want to celebrate each year? So you're saying yes?
I'm saying is I want somebody to demonstrate when come crunch time, come the moments that matter the most, when you want somebody who wants the ball in their hand and is able to say, I'm going to take that shot and score. And that's what Logano does. And it's not much different than 2011 when you go back at it. That year, Tony Stewart was terrible during the regular season. Brutal during the regular season. Yet, what did he do in the playoffs? He got hot, won 5 of 10 races. And we talk about this magical thing. And it was an incredible run. It was awesome to see. He won those 5 races in dramatic fashion. It was fantastic. And he took the ball and he ran with it and he scored at crunch time. And we celebrate that. Why are we not celebrating much the same way Joey Logano today, or Ryan Blaney last year, or Joey Logano in 2022?
That's just never been the tradition of motorsport. So you're going to have to completely go against. If you want to do that, that's fine. But you're going to have to get people. You're going to have to say, this is
some point, the tradition of motorsport. The playoffs. NASCAR's had a playoff for 20 years.
How's F1 doing with their season-long point system?
It's great.
How's their popularity?
It's great. Well, it's great this year, but it's before the last couple of years.
How's their popularity doing?
I just said it was great.
It's been great just this year?
No, it's not what I said. I said it's doing well, and it's doing well because of Netflix and everything else the last few years. Before that, though, it was struggling. It wasn't popular in this country. People in this country weren't even attending races.
I'm not even talking about this country. I'm saying F1 is growing internationally, and they have a season-long points format with no playoffs, and they're doing just fine. So you're saying, well, we got to get rid of the tradition of motorsports, and at some point we have to have some innovation. And I think the innovation has been here in NASCAR now. This elimination format's been around. This was the 11th year. We have a situation where here we are after the 11th year of this, arguing whether it's legit, whether it's credible. Steve Phelps opens his State of the Sport news conference the other day on Friday by going, I want to start by defending the 4 drivers and why they deserve to be racing for the championship. If if the format's so great, why is this still the conversation?
Because there's negative people who continually point fingers at this and say this is bad and this is bad. And there has been a lot of people with large platforms who have done that, who have pointed at this and said, this is not justified. This isn't good. This is bad. People don't want this. So when people continually take shots at you, you have to defend yourself. So that is why he comes out and says, hey, that's not the case. Denny Hamlin said it this week, and I respect Denny's opinion. We agree to differ. But when you have somebody like Denny and like yourself who have large platforms and continue to shoot arrows at this, you have to feel like, hey, I've got to defend myself.
So all the customers at your restaurant are saying, we don't like.
It's not all of the customers. Again, give me a number. You sit there and say it's all of the customers. It's not all of the customers.
Okay. So
there is a vocal group
if I
of
did
people.
a poll, since we guess on polls, if I did a poll and say, do you like the 10 race format, the elimination format, or a 36 race format, what would your guess? You're saying you think that the elimination, this is just a small minority.
No, I didn't say it was small minority. I did not say a small minority. I said I want to see the number of people that say this. Listen, I want, again, if your measure, what is the biggest measure in this sport? What is the biggest barometer of whether people are watching and are interested or not? Television ratings. And if you look at television ratings, guess what? They're up this year. Despite 3 major races having weather impacted, the Clash, Daytona 500, and Coke 600, NASCAR still had an upcrease in the playoffs. Look at the television ratings for the playoffs alone. We've seen the numbers on a week-to-week basis. They're largely up over year. So obviously, something is happening here where people are interested. If people were turning this off and so offended by this format and the way NASCAR decides the championship, the ratings you would presume would be going the other direction. They're not. So if people are so offended by this, why are more people watching it this year than last year?
So if the rating is down for this race, will you retract your comment? Since the ratings have been up all season, all playoffs long.
I'm not going to retract my comment. I'm looking at the body of work. The body of evidence says the numbers are up this year. The playoffs are interested.
Chase Elliott also wasn't even in the playoffs last year. So just because they were up 4% or whatever, couldn't that just be the Chase Elliott number of fans tuning back in because he's been
There's
eligible?
A lot of different factors. Again, I mean, there's a factor today where people don't watch. I mean, let's be honest. We're going to talk about the quality of racing. Like, it wasn't that great of a race. The first, 2/3 of it, the last, 50 laps or so was really compelling. But there's a lot of different factors that are going to go into that. But I do think you have to be careful about making this large sweeping generalizations. Oh my God, this is awful. Nobody's watching it. Nobody wants this.
Yeah. I mean, it's, I think if you don't make a change, this is going to be, I think it's really going to come back to bite everybody. And I think I think the majority, and maybe, maybe you're right. Maybe I'm just too caught up in the social media world, but the people I hear from, the people I talk to, they don't like seeing the champion decided like this. So that's all I can go on. I don't have people saying, this is great. What are you talking about? You're an idiot. Stop, shut up. Stop being so negative. I don't get a ton of that. I get, man, this is not what we're looking for. So maybe you hear differently. But I just don't know. I just don't know where NASCAR goes from here, because I just think it weakens the credibility of what a champion should be. And we should be celebrating after moments like this by saying this was the best of the year. They went out and proved it, period.
I think Logano proved that he is the deserving champion. He went out and proved it in adverse situations, in figuring out a way when he didn't have the fastest car, when it wasn't just, hey, we're going to go outrun everybody by a bunch of time. Like, no, we've got to do it the hard way. And they did it the hard way. That's greatness.
Well, Jordan, you also talked about the racing here at Phoenix. And fortunately, there was actually a very, very compelling finish. But as you noted, the first 2/3 of this race were not the best. And
I miss Homestead.
You miss Homestead. So you want to move. You at least agree with me that this is not the best place to decide.
I've said this for a while now. Like, I respect Phoenix. I think there's a place for Phoenix in the championship, on a semi-annual basis. but to have it year after year, like we've seen for since 2020, it's time. I mean, it's you need to go to track. You need to mix it up first of all, and this place just doesn't produce like amazing stellar racing. And I don't know what it was today. We didn't see. There seemed to be some tire wear, but it just. You go back a week ago at Martinsville, and that was great and dramatic. You go back a week before that at Homestead, that was great and dramatic. It was just, again, the last 30 laps or so, or whatever it was, 50 laps it was, I think when the restart happened, 56. It just, outside of that, it didn't have that moment. And I just think that you need to bring this race to a track that allows you to put on a great show and allow your drivers to showcase their ability the best. And that is a Homestead. That would be a Las Vegas or a Charlotte. And honestly, they're gonna laugh at me for saying this. I'd even throw Texas in that conversation because that racing has gotten better there.
Oh my God,
the racing has gotten better there. I mean, it's not perfect, but
that was crazy.
I know. And I've slammed Texas more than anybody, but the racing has gotten better there to a point you're like, maybe it's not. But you've got to figure out a way to put these guys in situations that allow them to show their ability. And that was what we've seen the last few weeks, like Reddick at Homestead or Blaney last week. And while I was impressed with what Bell and Blaney and Logano all able to do today, it didn't feel, lacked that magical, like, whoa, these guys are really, going after it hard kind of thing, if that makes sense.
So I actually think the race here today was about as good as you can get at Phoenix.
Yeah.
Which
isn't saying much, though.
Brett Griffin tweeted something similar. I agree. I mean, I don't think you're going to get a better race at Phoenix. That's it. So this is sort of the top standard that you could ask for. And again, which is not very great. So
which is why, like, if you rotate it, and again, if you come back here in 4 or 5 years or whatever, and you come here like, oh, okay, it's fine for 1 year, but if you're doing it year after year, you're like, this is I'm a little full on this. I'd like to have something else now to digest.
Yeah. Hopefully, I would like to see a situation where it's not just one race, I think, at this point. And then we won't have to worry about that in particular because it won't matter as much. I mean, yeah, you're still having a season finale, but it's not so much on the championship race itself. If you had 3, if you had 5, 10 would be great, by the way, guys. What is so wrong, by the way? What would be so wrong with a 10 race playoff? This car is designed to keep everybody close. This car is designed for parity. Why not just go back to the 10 race, the chase as we knew it, give maybe double the bonus points, so that, playoff points, so that people have more to start with. So they don't just, you only have 30 to start with, and then they're gone in one round, or, gone in a couple races if you have a bad race. So maybe you have like 70 to start with or something, right? For the top guy. And, go to those 10 races. It's going to be close. It's going to be close because you can't build your way out of it with this car. I mean, you can hit on something for a couple tracks, all that stuff, but the top guys are going to be within relatively range of each other. I mean, if you look at even the season-long points, it wouldn't have been decided. And I know you hate that, but it wouldn't have been decided today, up until today, right? Like, it wouldn't have been decided or clinched before. The field is close. So can we just try? Can we try going back to the 10 race thing? Would you be opposed to that?
Well, here's the problem is you can't just do it as a 1-year experiment, though. I mean, if you're going to do that, you've got to make almost a permanent change, if you will. Like, hey, this is what it's going to be now for the next number of years. And so if you do it and you don't get what you want, then what? Then you got to flip it again. And I think it's important to find a format and stick with it. And that's why, say what you will about this format, it's been this way for 11 years, with the exception of the knockout, or with the stages and everything, which kind of changed it up a little bit, but still largely been the same for the last 11 years. And so if you go to that and it doesn't work, I get concerned, because then you're like, oh, we got to start changing things. And the other thing I worry about is, and to your point about, everybody's closer, and well, to some degree, but we have seen teams hit on it for a stretch. Penske, for example, has hit on it for the past 10 races or so. And so there's a little bit of a concern of, hey, one team is going to get is going to be able to run away because they got hot, and then the gap there between the haves and the have-nots is going to separate
But
a little
10
bit.
races is a long time. If somebody gets hot over
But
10
we've
races,
seen
as
it.
Tony Stewart did in 2011, you tip your cap to them. You say, "Wow, hey, over 10 races, that was phenomenal," right? Like I don't think anybody would be going, "Well, that's a gimmicky, fluky kind of thing." Over
I'm not
10 weeks,
opposed-
2.5 months.
I'm not opposed to it. I mean, you and I had this conversation the other day, and we are kind of going back and forth. And like, if you reward drivers enough for winning, and I think that to me is the big thing. Where the one beauty of this format I really like is it rewards winning unlike anything else. Like at the end of the day, you want drivers to go out there and say, "Hey, I want to win at all costs. I want to win because it matters more than anything. And if it does, it's going to give me the next run." I love the beauty of that. And so if you can figure out a way to say, "Hey, we're going to have this the race 1 through 10 of playoff format." Okay. But I want to make sure you do it in a way where winning matters, where guys are going to be kind of put in unfairly, you could say. It's fair to say that you put guys in the corner and say, the only way you're going to fight out of this is by winning. I want to have those moments where Kevin Harvick has to go to a Dover with his back against the wall and beats the field so bad in a must-win situation. Everybody's screaming that his car was cheated up. I want to see a Brad Keselowski go to Talladega, which was a cutoff race, and have to claw his way to victory lane. I like those moments. I like when you have Tyler Reddick have to pull off an incredible last lap pass on older tires, and people are like, how the hell did he do that? I like seeing Ryan Blaney with his playoff hopes on the line over the last 90 laps or so claw his way forward to win a race. And I love the reward for that. So I get worried if you take that away. I'm not opposed to it, but I want to make sure that rewarding wins is still there and it's still important. And that if it doesn't work, we end up, we're going to go to this playoff format this year. We're going to change it up. There was a time when it seems like NASCAR was changing everything up with the playoffs on a regular basis. There has been some consistency in that. And I think there's some equity in that.
Let's just talk, as long as we're talking about the quality of racing at Phoenix, let's just talk about, was it a good race? I am the champion.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's awesome. I'm really happy for you.
Yeah, you're happy because you want to run the lemonade stand.
When life gives you lemons, you operate a lemonade stand.
Yes, and you're very excited about it, I can tell.
And I had a great idea today. Someone said I should get like a yellow suit. I think that's what I'm going to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
I still think you should dress as a lemon.
No,
that's fine.
Can't wait.
Anyway, there's no stakes here, Jordan, because the contest is over. So we can, as you say, I won't Prices Right you. And we can actually.
There's a lot of people angry at you for that.
You had somebody at the tweet up today accuse me of cheating.
I didn't ask them to. They did it on their own.
You called me over and said this person's going to accuse you of cheating on the poll.
Yep.
And just because I go higher or lower than Jordan, which is insane since you actually ask people for their opinion. Anyway. So what do I think this race will be? Well, I don't think it was a great race. I think a lot of people are very, very angry. I think that, which is the format and all the things we talked about. I think people will definitely penalize this race. So, I think it might be in the 40s. I haven't looked at past Phoenix races, but I don't think it's going to be good. I will say 42%.
Oh, that's the number I was going to take.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Were you really going to say 42%?
No, I was going to go some low 40s. So yeah, I think so too. I wish I knew the numbers in front of me, but yeah, I mean, 38, like too low. Like, I don't think it's going to do well. I just don't think people, for a lot of the reasons you mentioned, there are a lot of people that seem upset by this, and the racing wasn't, again, like the last part of it was good, really, really good. But for the most part, it felt very devoid of drama.
You just said that this is just sort of like all the people that didn't like that I'm hearing from that don't like the playoffs the way they are. You're like brushing it off, and then now you're saying, "Oh yeah, there's so many people that don't like it; they're going to vote it down."
Yeah.
So which is it?
Well, they can be both. There can be a good sizable number of people that don't like this, but is it the minority or is it the majority? I don't know.
Okay. All right. So 38.
Yeah. I don't care. Honestly, you can just
Well,
give me a number. I don't care less. I'm already focused on opening my lemonade stand, which is going to be the best lemonade stand. I also need somebody, if you could Google, I need to figure out what the world's record is for the most amount of lemonade sold in like a short amount of time. We're going to try to gun for that record.
You're going to break.
No,
you're
I'm
gonna try to
not
break a
calling my
Guinness
shot. We're
World
going to
Record?
try to break the record. Why not? We're going to go. We're going to do this. Go big or go home.
Like the amount of cups? How
I
would
don't
that
know.
be?
I don't know. Is it amount of cups? Is it the volume? I don't know. Let's figure this out. Let's
Oh
make some
my God,
magic.
If you
here.
get a Guinness World Record out of this, I'm going to be so
Oh my
mad.
God. Oh my God. That'd be awesome. Oh my God. You'd be
I would
so,
be so annoyed.
you being so pissed off would be like the best thing ever. Like that is all I want out of this world right now is to break whatever record this is just to see your reaction. Oh, it would be
God, what a
tremendous.
season. What a year. Well, there were some other people in this race, aside from the Penske drivers, although they ended up finishing 1-2 and battling it out among the last two champions. William Byron. It's interesting, Jordan. I saved this this quote because I thought this was pretty fascinating. So this was Cliff Daniels in September to just talking about the emphasis and how much Hendrick was working to avoid what we just saw. He said, Phoenix for Hendrick Motorsports started the day after Phoenix a year ago. I would say probably the same for Chevrolet as well. He basically said the day after that race last year, we started coming up with plans, and those have continued to build. Specifically for us, we know we're going to prepare really hard on the race ahead of us, and then for the next 3 weeks ahead. Talking about, but it's all he's talking about: the Phoenix car, the Phoenix prep, Phoenix car details, setup details, strategy, all the things that have been a year long in the making. So I asked Jeff Gordon about this after the race because it's got to be totally demoralizing in some ways, where all of Hendrick was focused on like, all right, Phoenix. Like we've seen how much this matters. We've seen how important this is. What are we going to do? How are we going to win this? And ultimately, again, Penske still shows up and is able to do what they did. Jeff Gordon said that when you look at the SMT data, I don't have his exact quote here in front of me. This is just a little bit ago. He basically said that the way that their cars turn around the corner and then they can get to the gas faster is just something that the Hendrick cars don't necessarily have. And they've just got to figure it out. But this was year 3 of the next gen, he was saying. And so he said our hands are tied a little bit in terms of what we can come up with. So they're going to get back to work. They're going to try. But again, like, I mean, you could say, well, what if Kyle Larson was in it? Kyle Larson wasn't going to win the championship today. I don't think. I mean, a Hendrick car wasn't going to win. The Penske cars, they came with the best stuff. They're great at Phoenix.
Yeah, I mean, 3 cars are going to win this race today. Joey Logano, Ryan Blaney, Christopher Bell. That's it.
I think that's fair. And then when you look at Christopher Bell and Toyota, talk to, Tyler Reddick was just pretty much a non-factor. He had a great restart to get from 9th to 5th at one point, but never was able to really do much after that.
Great restart though.
Denny Hamlin said after the race that I think his analogy was like playing on a sprained ankle or something like that, or playing on a bummed ankle. Like Toyota's, he felt like just haven't had the speed necessarily lately.
Okay, but we say that, but we just got done talking about Christopher Bell, and Christopher Bell led a race high number of laps, and he drives a Toyota. So, and is that a Toyota? I mean, it's hard to say that Toyotas are at some kind of deficiency when the guy who led the most laps, it drives a Toyota.
Live poll, obviously this is not scientific, and I don't even know how many people are in our chat. We have about 1,200 people right now on the live stream. 50% of people want a 10-race chase format. 36% want the whole season 36-race format back, and 15% want the current format to remain. Any reaction to those numbers?
I appreciate my friends and family voting on my side.
Okay. This is not a big number. 15% of people want the current format to stay.
Okay.
No reaction though. Okay. All right.
Okay.
So anything else about? I mean, Bell looked great. I mean, for a while there, I was really looking forward to getting on the podcast because I thought he was going to win, and then I could tell you, see, I told you this is why I picked Bell all year, because look what he was going to do at Phoenix. It turned out that didn't matter anyway because Penske was, Penske had it.
You were wrong. I was right.
I was wrong a lot.
That's the theme.
I was wrong a lot.
That's the theme of the show, Jeff.
That I was.
We should actually change the name of the show from the Teardown to Jeff was wrong.
Yeah, you're never wrong.
I'm not saying never, but
I don't think you've ever admitted that
I admit all the time I'm wrong. It just doesn't happen often.
Anyway, so Martin Truex Jr., another Toyota, got the pole, and he was doing some great things there for a while. He was running right up there.
Yep.
He seemed. You talk about somebody that did not regret their decision whatsoever. No tears, no emotion, no sort of, the quivering lip. Like, well, I'm really gonna miss this.
Oh man, am I having second thoughts? Maybe I could It was like, peace out.
Boy, that is one happy man.
He is. Yeah, there's no regrets there. Here's a question for you. Hypothetical. Okay. Truex gonna run the Daytona 500 next year.
Oh, you're saying is he?
He is.
Because
he
was supposed to run for 23.
Yeah. Okay. Let's just put aside the federal lawsuit.
Okay.
Let's just say he's going to run the Daytona 500, like they've kind of said,
mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
He wins that race. Does the team say, "Hey, you know what? You're playoff eligible now. Stick around"?
No, he would not. No, he's not going to change his mind.
You don't think so? I'm not saying I don't think you would either. To be honest,
what would they do? Field a car for him for the entire year just because he won the Daytona 500?
It's playoff eligible.
Well, how did he do in the playoffs this year and last year?
Yeah,
that's enough to make you go, oh yeah, come back.
Not.
He wouldn't come back anyway. No, he's not. He doesn't want to.
Right.
He wants to fish. He wants to hunt. He wants to race when he feels like racing, and he wants to enjoy his life. I mean, how more clear terms can you hear him say that?
I don't know. I agree with you. I don't think it would. I just think it's a wild.
No, there's zero chance. And he was even asked by somebody in the media center this weekend, oh, if you went out and won Phoenix, would you just do a mic drop and just like walk away on the other side of it? He's like, no, I want to race when I feel like racing.
Yeah.
So that's it. He's a very simple guy. Let's not overcomplicate this. He says what he means, I think.
Yeah.
Especially when he's made a decision. We know how long it takes him to make a decision.
We do.
So when he actually has made a decision and says something repeatedly, that's it. But look, the guy had a great career, Hall of Fame career. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
He's got it's a great what if for him though. Because there was a lot of years in the wilderness for him in terms of his career. And it really nothing for him. Like he didn't do anything wrong, but he joins DEI really kind of towards the end of DEI's heyday. Dale left shortly thereafter. The team just really goes downward, right? And he joins Michael Walter Racing, and they're still trying to get their act together at that time. And they eventually do. In 2012, they start to kind of really turn it around. 2012, Boyer almost wins the championship. Truex makes the playoffs finally. The next year, Truex wins a race and snaps this long winless drought that he had because his last win came in 2007. And so it's like, okay, Michael Walter Racing on the upswing. And then Michael Walter Racing falls apart. And then and then he goes to Furniture Row in 2014, disastrous year there. And then, they get the ship going and they look like, okay, they're on their way. Win the championship in 2017, almost win the championship in 2018. But then Furniture Row closes its doors. And then his crew chief leaves a few years later, Cole Pern. And it's like, it's one of these great what if of his careers. Like a lot of these moments of like, if he could have maybe found some stability early on or just not have these big seismic things that are largely out of his control and these race teams falling apart or not underperforming or whatever, what his win total and championship total would be like, because it would certainly probably be a lot more than it is.
Yeah. Let's look at some of the other results here. You had both 2311 cars actually finished, in the top 7 because even though Bubba did not have Booty Barker with him, he was able to finish 7th. Ross Chastain finished 19th, and Austin Dillon finished 27th. Obviously, I bring those up because they were penalized since we last spoke here on the podcast for race manipulation. They were each fined $100,000. Their teams were fined $100,000, and they lost their spotter, crew chief, and team executive. Bubba, I mentioned because that was going to be Booty Barker's last race with him on the team before he's getting a new crew chief next year. But again, they still ran pretty well. We did not really hear much. I mean, Ross Chastain, for instance, would not speak at all about his actions or the penalty. Austin Dillon, I saw a video that he did with Bob Pockrass. You should go watch that if you haven't. he was pretty defiant. Obviously, RCR was going to appeal, and then they dropped theirs. 2311 did not appeal. Trackhouse tried to appeal and lost theirs. Now, NASCAR, Steve O'Donnell said he was pissed and made it clear that there will be a manufacturer rule next year going forward where you can penalize the manufacturer as well. But, I think that they've made it clear. They said they did not suspend the drivers in this matter because, they were being told what to do. But however, next time that they will definitely be suspending the drivers if there's any funny business going forward. So, Jordan, with everything that happened after the race fixing scandal, as Christopher Bell said, who said he got cheated out of a spot in the Final Four, are you satisfied that everybody knows the rules now going forward and that we will not see this again?
Everybody knew the rules before, and this still happened. Like, you go back 2 years ago, we had this issue with Stuart Haas Racing and the 41 team at a cutoff race to help their teammate Chase Briscoe. And you would say, and NASCAR at that point came down really heavy. And you're like, okay, that sends a message. Well, message obviously has been forgotten because it happened 2 years later, and the penalties are about the same. I mean, if they're not identical, they're close in terms of money too, and that's the big thing. So, no, I don't know because I think people are going to forget. Now you can penalize the manufacturers. Okay, I'm glad that NASCAR is going to do that. I was really surprised when I asked NASCAR's Elton Sawyer this week, why can't you penalize the manufacturers? And they're like, well, it's not in the rule book. I was like, oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And there seems to be a change there. Potentially a slippery slope for that. I'm curious to see how it goes, but this is going to happen. I mean, this isn't going to change. This is always going to be around in some way, shape, or form. And I think if you really want to cut this out and try to eliminate this to the best you can, you got to hit him in the pocketbook hard. And I think you need to probably suspend some drivers. And I feel really bad for saying that because the drivers in this case are largely just, for lack of a better term, pawns. But
they're holding the wheels. They know better.
Yeah,
and
you're right.
You got to send a message, and you got to make it so that the drivers think, I can't do that. I'm not going to do that. You're asking me to do something that's going to get me suspended. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, I would actually go back. I would say you have to put in the say of a team executive is like, I can't ask my driver to do that because if I ask my driver to do that, I'm putting him at risk of being suspended. And so then it comes out of the driver's hands, And so I think that's the threat you have to hold, the carrot over them of like, hey, if you do this, you're going to potentially lose your driver for a race. Do you really want to walk down that road? And I think most team executives will be like, sorry. I don't know. Well, I'm curious to see what rules are put in place and what happens the next time this occurs, because it will happen. It will. That's just the way it is. And then what those punishments are.
Before we move on to Xfinity and trucks the rest of the weekend, let's talk about our decision of the race, our moment of the race. Our friends, obviously, by the way, thank you to Safety Culture for sponsoring this segment all playoffs long. I know you guys have heard this ad read a lot, but we really appreciate them coming on so we can do this segment and talk about this. This is obviously sponsored by Safety Culture, the workplace operations platform, giving teams what they need to get the job done quicker and improve every day. Safety Culture, a better way of working. Was there a decision that you felt like put Logano in position aside from him making that move on the restart? I mean, I don't know that it was something strategy or anything like that, right?
No, I mean, it's going to sound bad, but if you want the key moment of the race, I go back to Las Vegas.
That's a key moment of the championship.
Honestly, and I wrote about this week on The Athletic, and I encourage you to go read that. But that moment where Paul Wolf decided, hey, this is my shot. I've got an opportunity to win a race here, but I got to go for it. That was it. And it gave them the 3-week head start. Go read about it in The Athletic. In these situations, Logano's done it 3 times now. Did it in 18, he did it in 22, and he's done it now, where he's won that first race in that semifinal round and then went on to win the championship. And it's not a coincidence. Paul Wolf is the crew chief on 2 of those 3 championships, and he's very good at devising a way of what he needs to do and putting together a winning strategy. So if you're asking me the key moment of this race, it was actually a few weeks ago at Las Vegas.
That's a great point. Paul Wolf, active wins leader, by the way, for crew chiefs. And you nailed it. You wrote about it on The Athletic, how they have this 2-week advantage and what they do, what they did, how they used it, how it set them up. And that's exactly what they did again. And it's amazing when you think about like Logano had this ultimate confidence. Yesterday after
Swagger,
qualifying,
man.
yeah,
Like
he
this
comes in after
cutthroat
qualifying
mentality.
second, and he's like, absolutely. Like there's just, sort of just grim faced, right?
Yeah.
Like, and again, to me, obviously, I never bought it. I never bought that they were going to be that good, because I just thought, well, if they could do this, if they could turn it on, why couldn't they just do this all year? If they could buckle down like this, if they could find speed like this when they need to, where was this before the playoffs? Where was this when they were trying to get playoff points? Why were they struggling so much? So I was skeptical. I was wrong, obviously very, very wrong. But clearly, the decisions they made to get to that point, to get ready for it, is what set them up. And they did it again. History repeats itself, supposedly on even years. And I know that if we're still doing this podcast in 2 years, I might have to like get earplugs for the entire season, because you're just going to be over and over and over.
Here's a question for you.
Okay.
You finish the ad read first.
Oh, okay. So we're not talking about even years, or are you going to talk about even years?
Oh no, I'm going back to even years.
Well, finish that, because this is part of this discussion.
What do you hate more this year? Even year Logano conversation or waiver talk?
Waiver. There's no question.
Did you shriek today at the tweet up? Was it because someone brought waiver?
I shrieked?
I thought you yelled today at the tweet up or something.
I did?
I thought maybe it was somebody else I heard then. Okay.
Shrieked?
I thought you like yelled or got excited or something, or somebody was giving you a hard time. Forget it.
I have no idea what you're talking about. No,
Okay,
seriously. But
I heard a noise that came from your direction. It sounded like a shriek.
No, the waiver thing was far more annoying. The even year Logano is like the vortex theory. There's nothing to it.
There's something to it, because
it's called a coincidence.
Things happen repeatedly. It stops being a coincidence.
So you think there's something to there's some performance thing that Logano will fall off next year, and then the year after in 2026 he'll be back because there's some sort of even year thing. Like there's something actually to that.
The world works in mysterious ways, Jeff. Sometimes things happen beyond our control. It's mystifying. Sometimes you just got to believe, bud. Put down the negativity, smile more, and just let things happen. That's what he does every 2 years.
Well, listen, if you're looking for practical solutions and not just wishful thinking to help your business, Safety Culture is a workplace operations tool that gives teams what they need to get the job done quickly and improve every day. But what does that actually mean? Well, obviously, if you're part of a company, a business, a team, etc., efficiency is everything. No matter what you're trying to achieve, no one has time to waste. From construction sites to factory floors, Safety Culture is designed to drive improvements not just in safety, but broadly across quality and efficiency too. It's all about meeting higher standards by bringing the whole team onto one page, all from their mobile device. We know that Trackhouse Racing is not only a supporter of Shane Van Gisbergen's car, but they are a big believer in the Safety Culture app. They use Safety Culture's app to manage everything from pre-race inspections on the car to assembly checks, even in-house training, all on their very own operations platform. If you're a team leader, the Safety Culture app can help you get greater visibility across your whole operation so you can make confident decisions fast. If you work behind the scenes, Safety Culture can give you access to the knowledge and tools to ensure your success and help you make every second count. Are you ready to put your workplace in the pole position? Head to safetyculture.com/SVG. That's safetyculture.com/SVG. Well, Jordan, guess what?
What?
Something crazy happened in the Xfinity race. And that was that Justin Allgaier actually was able to, shoo away the dark cloud that was over him, sometimes self-induced, actually self-induced multiple times. He actually pulled out a weather magnet and called the dark cloud to him during the race multiple times, and then was still so good that he was able to go boosh, vanish, and I win. I'm the champion. What that was the probably, I mean, you can say Tony Stewart comeback in 2011 championship race when he had to go to the back twice and came all the way back through the field. You can say that's one of the great comebacks ever, but I think this might be the best comeback I've ever seen because not the best comeback you've ever seen?
Stewart.
What was it better than that one?
Stewart in 2011. I'm sorry. It was pretty.
The whole field let him go by.
Wow. So negative.
Okay. Anyway, Justin Allgaier let's focus on the incredible thing he did.
So,
He had horrible. Oh, you have all the notes. Yes, take us through it.
So he was penalized for not staying in line on a restart. NASCAR was officiating this much tighter this weekend, and a penalty. It was a penalty. So has to service pit stop, comes down pit road, and speeds. So 2 penalties. Also got hard racing with Riley Herbst. Had a flat tire because of that. What else?
What about the backup car?
Oh, yeah, the backup car.
The backup car in practice.
My notes aren't in order here. So
yeah,
the
backup car in practice when he ran over oil. That's pretty bad luck.
That's bad luck there. The other stuff was self-inflicted. The oil that is 100% not his fault. But yeah, just between the backup car, the multiple penalties, the over aggressiveness there when you didn't need to be, it was just like one thing after another, and it felt like Allgaier, a championship he should have won going away, was going to slip away because he kept making repeated mistakes.
Amazing and very feel-good story there. Moments like that, by the way, even though it's one of those things where the caution came out exactly at the right time for Allgaier in a one-race championship. So it worked out for him, and it worked out for NASCAR to get the storyline.
We just can't credit Allgaier at all for this. I'm sorry.
Well, he wasn't going to win. He completely screwed up and wasn't going to win the race. He caught a lucky caution. You're saying he didn't catch a lucky caution?
I'm blaming this format. I hate this format. It's so awful.
All right, you're clearly trolling. He caught a lucky caution, and that enabled him to win. But he capitalized when he had to. So, you look at that and you go, "Wow, that was pretty exciting." I think that was definitely the most exciting moment of the weekend. Well, I don't know. The pace car suddenly was swerving and hitting the sand barrels.
Has a championship race.
Of course.
The pace car.
The pace car wrecks and hits the sand barrels in the championship race.
For a minute, I thought my mom was driving the car or something. I was like, "Good Lord, how do you hit the sand barrels?"
Is your mom a bad driver? She listens to this, you said.
Yeah, I understand she listens to this, but just say,
don't
drive with my mom at night, okay? Take your life in your own hands. That's all I got to say.
That was, my God, and I know that wasn't officiating necessarily, but when Steve O'Donnell comes out in the Friday press conference and sharply defends the officiating, to your question about you said, well, what's going on with the officiating, right? Like, what are you guys going to work on? He said, I'm paraphrasing, I don't have a quote in front of me. We don't have an officiating problem. We have the best and the brightest. This stuff happens in every sport. And we feel pretty confident. We'll look at different technologies, but we feel very confident in our officiating, and seem to sort of take exception to the suggestion that people were saying that there was an officiating problem. And of course, the pace car then wrecks in the championship race, cause a red flag. Again, that's not officiating necessarily, but it sort of falls under the same sort of thing. I am glad we didn't have to hear from Elton Sawyer after this race. We've heard from him a lot this year. So.
Yes.
Agreed. Although, to their credit, that means they're being transparent, at least when they're bringing them out. So appreciate that. Appreciate them talking about, that back in the day, they used to not talk about it and used to be a bunch of spin. And, we would just have to.
I do appreciate that NASCAR has become much more open to explaining things. And, whether you agree with it or not, that's fine. But like they are willing to come out and say, hey, here's the process. Here's what happened. I respect that because there was a time and a place in the sport where like, sorry, we're not talking. We don't have to.
And of course, my new theme of whatever the most possible NASCAR thing to happen also goes with Ty Majeski, because obviously he would not have been in the championship race had Taylor Gray not been knocked out of the way at Martinsville. Plus, there was a controversy this week because Ty Majeski gets fined $12,500 for skipping the Truck Series Content Day, which happened to be on Election Day. He went home to Wisconsin to vote. He said he did not want to vote absentee. He always votes in person. NASCAR said that they did not know that that was the reason he missed. So they fined him. They did not know until after they fined him that he was voting, and they would have worked with him. However, it came out that they fined him for basically people interpret it as they fined him for voting. And so then, of course, that guy wins the championship in a dominant fashion in the Truck Series. So, of course.
He did. And it only got in, by the way, because the week before, A guy was pushed out of the lead in
Right.
a late race situation. Who, if Taylor Gray would have won that race, Ty Majeski would not have at all qualified for the championship 4.
Yes. So again, very NASCAR things to happen. I think you could say all weekend, right? Like Majeski, Allgaier is a very crazy, wacky thing to happen. Logano, of course, exploiting the system in a way to do that. The pace car, just like this has been a very NASCAR with an exclamation point season. Just stuff keeps happening, and you're just like, how does this happen? Why does this happen? But it happens. So
I want to go back to Allgaier because I think we need to give him his due.
Okay.
I mean, great, tremendous drive. We talked about that. It was just really aggressive, made the moves when he had to, and that restart move where he basically split him. Like, oh my goodness, like it was epic. I don't want to say it was the most well-received victory championship celebration I've ever seen before, but it was pretty popular. And I think that really stood out to me when obviously Dale's his team owner, so Dale's going to be excited in general, but it went beyond that. It was a guy who's come close and fallen short and finally was able to do it. And you could see how it resonated with him and Dale's excitement of like carrying the Allgaier championship flag around and like not wanting to let it go. That says something. When Ryan Blaney, who's not even in the Xfinity Series race, makes it a point to walk all the way to victory lane to congratulate Allgaier, shows to me like what this meant. And this is a guy who's got a lot of respect, who's raced people very clean, been a professional for a long time, and you could see how just people were really happy for him. I think that was cool to see.
I mean, you could hear. I watched that whole race from the press box, and when he won, you could hear the fans cheering through the press box glass while the engines were still going. I mean, it was loud. People were jacked up. There was fans with tears in their eyes. I mean, it was a big emotional, big pop for Allgaier. A very cool moment. And it's just one of those things where you're like, man, I mean, you just don't see that every day. NASCAR doesn't always get these feel good stories. And I mean, it's pretty incredible stuff, really. And so he finally gets to that mountaintop, and I love
it's good to see.
Very deserving guy.
Yeah, good to see good people do great things.
And also, like, I mean, it was really cool. Just it speaks to who the dude is, right? But like him helping out his teammate Brandon Jones when they both wrecked as part of that incident in practice with the oil. He had to go to backup car. Justin told me yesterday morning, I ran into him in the garage, and he was saying, JRM brings like a short guy car, so to speak, and a long pedal, taller guy car where the seat is and the pedals are. And, you're allowed, the championship 4 are allowed to wrap their car only for that race. Normally for Xfinity, you have to bring like a bare bones unwrapped kind of thing. Justin had like the short guy car. And so he felt bad because Brandon Jones, who would normally also get the short guy car if he needed a backup, his was just like the skeleton had to be totally done. The pedals, seat had to be completely wrapped, everything. So you saw Justin, the video and all that stuff of him pitching in, staying late at night, the night before the championship race, working on it, decaling, all that stuff. So, then he wins the next day finally. So pretty cool moment there. And it was a very, that's probably the feel good story of the season in some ways.
I think that's fair. Yeah.
I mean, Harrison Burton at Daytona too, probably was pretty great, but
yeah.
Let's see what else here. Did you want to discuss?
I'm looking here at my list. What do you think? Oh, wait, go ahead. What do you think of Riley Herbst? Did you hear his press conference?
Man, he was going to wreck Allgaier, wasn't he?
He said he would have moved him because I asked him. I said because he was coming hard, and and I thought we were going to see something there. And I said, so what were you thinking in that process? Going through this. Now to go back to in that race, they had some run-ins throughout that race, including some contact. And he's like, I would have moved him. Now, he didn't say wreck him. He said move. But if you move somebody, as you know, sometimes sometimes they wreck. That would have been something, especially because who would have won the championship then? His teammate, likely. And so,
why was Riley Herbst so mad though in the press conference where he says that the media and the podcasts,
it was,
have we ever said bad things about Riley Herbst?
I don't think we.
He's not talking about our podcast, is he? I don't remember.
So everybody's asking that, and I think I think we've been critical of Riley at times. I don't think we're overly critical by anything, but
Do we even talk about? We don't even talk about that
that's
Xfinity
fair.
series.
That's fair. Maybe you're right. I mean, but to sit there and say that Ricky is like some infallible figure, like, or Riley, excuse me, Riley is some infallible figure. Like, his record is his record. Like, and for many years it wasn't great, but he has gotten better. And his win in Indianapolis this year was really impressive. His win a year ago at Las Vegas when he blew everybody's doors off was really impressive. And I thought he was really great in winning last night. This is a driver who has gotten better, but it's not like there wasn't fair criticism to levy. So I don't know if there's somebody out there that he's heard, or he pays too much attention to his social media comments or what. But what I would say is ignore it and look at who you are now. You're a driver who a year ago you won your first race, and this year you've won 2 races. You're obviously you've made progress. You're getting better. You've made improvements. All things being equal, or like if things go as planned, he's going to be in the Cup Series next year with a good team. So I don't know what the anger was. I don't know where that came from. But if that's I like when drivers show personality. So if that's who you feel, then great, then be it. But it just felt like, whoa, it felt like this came out of nowhere.
Jordan, before we go, let's talk about the latest in the lawsuit. We left you guys. It was Martinsville, and the next day we were going to federal court, where we attended the hearing for the preliminary injunction. We found out during the State of the Sport on Friday, of course, as NASCAR is on the stage speaking, the judge's decision came down right at that moment. Another very NASCAR thing to happen. The teams lost their request to have the preliminary injunction. Now, to back up, what they're asking for is there's a clause in the charter agreements, both charter and open teams, supposedly. Now, it's redacted. The exact language of the clause is redacted, so we can't exactly see it. But the teams believe that it does not allow them to bring legal action against NASCAR if they sign it. And so they're asking the judge to waive that clause and then allow them to sign the charter agreements that were put forth to them on September 6th, which all the other teams signed except for Front Row in 2311. However, NASCAR is now saying, we actually don't want to do business with you guys. You called us names. You undermined us. You did not show that you want to work to grow the sport together. And we only want to do business with people that work to grow the sport together. So that offer's off the table. We will not offer you the charters that we signed anymore, even if the judge puts this clause back in. We're asking the judge to not let you do that. And so the judge ultimately said, hey, listen, in order for me to give you this preliminary injunction and take this clause out and allow you to sign the charters for 2025, you have to show me that you are going to suffer harm. And ultimately, you have not suffered harm yet, because all the harm that you're claiming is speculative. You're saying you could lose Tyler Reddick. You could lose a sponsor. You could lose lots of purse money if you have to run as an open team, or you miss the Daytona 500. So he basically kind of telegraphed, hey, come back to me when you actually suffer harm, and I will be willing to grant you this, or I'd be more willing to. However, he did expedite other aspects of the trial. So it sounds like this will now be moving toward discovery. NASCAR will probably have to start opening the books and things like that, which is what we've been talking about for a long time. So that's a short summary of where we are. And this is not going to end anytime soon. It's going to be going on well into the off season. And I'm sure this will keep us busy in the off season, Jordan.
Gives off season content. It's going to be interesting. I feel like a couple things. One, the teams Front Row and 2311 are expected to file their appeal officially tomorrow. So that'll come out, and that'll be the next thing. And then from there, a court date will be set. It feels like maybe the door has been cracked a little bit now that this first step is out of the way, to maybe coming to the table and figuring out a way to resolve this with some kind of settlement. We'll see. I'm curious to see where this goes. As I was talking to some people involved in it today, the Daytona 500 isn't that far away. I mean, we're talking, 2.5 months or so. And there's not a lot of time. And especially with teams like 2311 and Front Row that are trying to expand, They've got sponsorship commitments they've got to finalize. They've got drivers they got to get in place. They've got people they got to hire. A lot of moving parts here and a lot of unknowns. And it's put under a lot of pressure with everything going on. I'm curious to see where this goes. This is the first step in what was going to be a long process potentially. We'll see.
Listen, you guys, I'm aware that some of you will probably not tune in for our next episode because you're going to say, oh, it's the off season, or people are just not going to look for the podcast. But programming note, we are going to record, at least a handful of off season episodes, at least, I would say, right? Like, our plan is we enjoy doing the podcast. We'd like to keep this going up maybe until mid-December or something like that, probably every week. So as of now, I don't know, not to speak for Jordan, but our plan is to be back next weekend with another podcast.
Yeah.
We'll be talking about some off-season stuff. We'll be talking about the latest news, be recapping conversations. We will be also going to the F1 race in Las Vegas. We can talk to you guys about that in a future episode. So certainly, I'm sure that a lot of the other NASCAR podcasts are going to be going dark within a week or two. Just to let you guys know, please, we're going to keep doing this. So we're not saying goodbye and happy off season, all that stuff yet. So if you guys are going to be around and, we can tell people are still listening and all that stuff, we'll keep going for a while. If you're cool with that. So this is definitely not a goodbye. The season's over for now, but we will definitely still be back. I don't know about you, Jordan, but this podcast and all this stuff, being on Dirty Mo this year, this has been so rewarding and so fun. And we just want to keep going.
Absolutely. Love doing this. Say this all the time. Appreciate all the support. It's so cool when people come up to us and say, hey, listen to the show. I love you guys. By the way, I agree with you more than Jeff. Thank you, people. Appreciate that. A lot of you out there. So, yeah, but do love this. My favorite 2 hours of the week. I may not always agree with him, but I do love him.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, that's real sincere. Thanks. Can we tease on Thursday what we're doing?
Oh, we're not sure what day. I guess
it's
at least Thursday.
It's Thursday. I'm out for Friday.
Okay. Thursday. As you know, by the way, Dirty Mo podcasts and all that stuff, there's a relationship with SiriusXM. We also occasionally co-host on SiriusXM, and it sounds like, unless something changes and they say, wow, screw those guys. Jordan and I are going to be co-hosting the morning drive on Thursday, coming up this Thursday. So 7 to 10 a.m. Eastern.
Mm-hmm.
It would be like a 3-hour teardown, essentially.
Oh, boy.
Or something like that. So
make sure to schedule a therapy session for 10:30 on Thursday.
Good idea. So I don't know exactly what we're talking about yet, but I'm sure there'll be plenty to talk about. So tune into Sirius Channel 90 to check us out Thursday morning. That should be fun.
Yeah, it'll be fun. We got a lot of great coverage in the Athletic too. We'll have a lot of stuff off this race. Our coverage season is definitely not over. You and I are going to be in Vegas for Formula One. Obviously, with the ongoing lawsuit, we will be covering that fully as well. So make sure to check out theathletic.com for all our great coverage.
Yep. Please support us there. So yes, again, please tune back in for our off-season episodes. We're not going anywhere. But until next time, thanks always for listening. Talk to you next time on The Teardown. See you, everybody.